Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this before.
You know, Wobbles, I'm kind of mad at you.
And as a reasonable man, I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to find a peaceful solution to these problems.
All right, people of the world, welcome to the annual summing up best of episode of Punching Up, where we sort of go against our natural natures and actually praise films with a couple of things that we don't like. In one instance, in my instance, really hate. Just to sort of remind people that this is the Punching Up podcast, but. Not more to say because, you know, it's a standard, you know, formula of just going back and forth and saying what we liked over the year. So is there anything you want to add to that, Damian?
Honestly, not really. I think let's just get into it. I've not really put mine in any kind of order. I suppose I've got an idea of like what my film of the year is, possibly.
I just did mine chronologically. I couldn't be bothered to put them in order of preference. Although nice. There is one, I'll sort of say when I come to my film of the year. So do you want to go first? I introduced. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Your
so
first.
I'll just kick it off.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first film in the chronologically list of sort of watching, and all these films I saw at the cinema, I think anyway. Parthenope, which was Paolo Sorrentino's film, and I loved it. I don't know, maybe history won't treat it as well, and I think it already didn't get the best sort of reviews, but I just found it very sweet. The Italian sort of landscape and just environments, like the language and everything is just so beautiful. I really like Paolo Sorrentino. I don't really think I've seen a film that I hated of his. And it had Celeste Dalla Porta, who was the lead in it. She was really beautiful, and maybe there's a little bit too much male gaze going on. I rewatched Stealing Beauty recently, and that's another film that had been given that kind of criticism. But I liked it, mate. I thought it was just really sweet. It was just a beautiful story about this woman and her growing up, and who she meets along the way. And yeah, stunning.
I didn't see it, so I can't really comment on it. I don't think I've seen a Paolo Sorrentino film since The Great Beauty, so I'm really sort of lagging behind his filmography, and a lot of his stuff is a lot of his stuff Netflix funded these days.
Some of it is, although Parthenope was part of an Italian film festival that I got to see. I don't think it had like a massively wide release. Like most of these films that I get to see I have to travel to see them because they're not on the mainstream one. But I think he did like The Hand of God, which was about Maradona, or a kid during that Maradona time. That I think was a Netflix film. But,
did he do the one about Pinochet, General Pinochet as a vampire?
No.
That might have been the guy that did Jackie and other, the Angelina Jolie Callas film. Or I might be just getting loads and loads of sort of Latin American or Italian. I'm sort of getting nations mixed up now. I better stop talking.
No, I had to put that in, really. I think that was I watched quite a lot of Italian films this year. I did see another one that had, was that this year? No, it may come back to me later. But yeah, I do like to check into the Italians and sort of really go back and forward as well. I've seen a little bit of Fellini, and I want to see a little bit more of his, like the Amarcord that I've not seen, and a few of his like sort of big hitters just before. Really like Italian films. Anyway, over to you, mate. What's your first one?
I need to sort of slightly further qualify my list, and that everything I saw in the cinema. I get quite legalistic about these lists. So there's been some really good sort of streamed only films, but I've not included any of them. So my first one was A Samurai in Time.
幕末の侍がタイムスリップしたのはあろうことか時代劇の撮影所
which actually didn't get a UK cinema release, but I saw it in a film festival of sort of traveling contemporary Japanese cinema. So that counts on a technicality.
Yeah.
And I was looking through the thing. It just says something about me. I was looking just through the program, and it was the only one with samurai in the title. So I'll go and see that one because it'll have sword fights. And it was charming. It was so lovely.
Yeah.
And it's for it sort of barely got any publicity when it came out on I think it's on the Indicator label, which do a lot of sort of cult Japanese cinema, and uh, and it's essentially about a samurai who gets struck by lightning in the middle of a duel, is thrown forward in time, um, and sort of emerges in the 21st century in the middle of a village that is actually a movie set making samurai television programs, and people mistake him for a method actor because he never breaks character, and then he quickly figures out what's happened, and then just sort of goes with it and becomes a sort of an essential part of this television series. And tries to adjust, to life in this. So it's kind of a little bit Crocodile Dundee-esque with an element of time travel, but it's so sweet-natured. The fights are astonishing in a film where they don't have to be because it's not a fight film, and I love the story of the making of it because it was. I just got to consult my notes for the guy's name. He's was it Junichi Yasuda, who had worked in film, but essentially on a technical level, but then inherited a rice farm, had a bit of money, and just funded this film himself. And it took 1 billion yen in Japan and is one of sort of the big sort of independent success stories that is compared with the success of a film that I didn't like, much to your
Yeah.
chagrin, like One Cut of the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I just thought it was a beautiful movie, and it's my first, and yeah. So what? Which you've seen it. I know you've seen it. So is there anything you want to add
Yeah.
to?
No, I agree with you, mate. That was something that I'd never even heard of, and I don't think it would have come across my radar at all had you not said like watch it. And I found it and I managed to see it, but it was just not on any cinema at all around here. I don't think they had. Maybe in a festival that I missed. And it would have been nice to see it on the big screen. But yeah, it was really lovely, lovely, lovely film. As you say, very sweet and refreshing to see a film that is kind of rooted in violence or whatever. That's just ultimate. There's a human story,
Yeah.
and he was really good as well. The main guy, wasn't he? He's
Yeah, and
like,
I didn't know any of the cast. It was all to me. I mean,
mm,
I'm not a sort of expert in like contemporary Japanese sort of stardom or anything like that, but I didn't know anybody, and they're all magnificent. And
mm,
yeah, and I'd be keen to see what the director does and what the stars do. Be keen to see any of them again, and just to see how this guy progresses. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't sort of have another film in the pipeline. I did a little bit
okay,
of cursory research, but I'd love to see something else he does. So yeah, that was a
yeah,
great movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very nice. Okay,
Thank
so the
you.
next on the list is one that's definitely on your list, and that is Sinners.
Oh,
I would say that Sinners would be on your list. But I recently rewatched it, having only seen it once at the cinema. I think you went to see it twice. Yeah, I really loved it. And then I recently listened to a Script Apart. Do you know that the podcast, A Script Apart with Al Horner?
no,
He's
not
like
heard
an
of that.
English. So I keep thinking of you when I listen to these. I was like, I must send you this one. Must send you this one. Al Horner is this presenter who's a sort of screenwriter himself and does podcasts about the first draft of these scripts. So recently, I listened to the one with Ryan Coogler, all about Sinners, which was just a lovely conversation. Al Horner's great. He's like so articulate, asks really thoughtful, wonderful questions, and his interviewees always respond well with it, to it. Yeah, great. A cultural phenomenon in the same sort of maybe a quieter way than that his Black Panther was. Um, I have a nice little story. The guy who was the Chinese kung fu guy in the what is it called in the musical sequence, the incredible musical sequence. He was at Sasha's wedding recently in Italy. And Sasha was like, he used to be, I think, the stuntman for Sasha in Iron Fist. So he came to the wedding and I was talking to him about it. I said, mate, I think I was a bit drunk as well, but I was like, well done. Like that really was the best sequence of cinema that I've seen for a long time. Like really beautifully put together, and to be part of that's very, very special. And he was just really like, thank you so much. He's a lovely, lovely guy. What do they call himself? Kung Fu. I forget his name. But yeah, Sinners, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant all the way through. Everything about it had it feels like it's peak Coogler.
I agree with everything you say. I mean, I'm just going to kind of just puncture any further tension and say that Sinners is my film of the year. I saw
Yeah,
it twice at the cinema. I bought it, watched it, feel the need to watch it again.
right.
And it was just, we're talking, assuming that everybody knows what Sinners is, but for
Yeah,
those out there who don't, it's essentially it's probably one of the best hybrid movies I've ever seen of sort of rural gangster movie set in is it the 30s or the 20s?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
30s,
it's
I
sort of in
think.
between the wars anyway. It's a movie about the blues. It's a horror movie as well. There's a horror movie element that takes over the second half of the film. It's a siege movie, but it's also so beautifully acted, and the power is in the music, isn't it? The way they utilize music, like
Mm.
you talked about the sequence, which if you haven't seen the movie, you don't want to say too much about it, but you'll know when you see it. There's a sequence that I would say breaks the fourth wall, every kind of wall.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most stylistically ballsy sequences I think I've ever seen in a movie. And it's one of these things that could have been ridiculous. And,
Mm.
and I remember going to see it with a friend of mine, waiting for that sequence and thinking, this is gonna this is gonna this is gonna sort of he's either gonna lose it's gonna lose him at this point, or he's just gonna be absolutely sucked in. And I was really nervous when that sequence came, and he just went with it and was commenting about it afterwards. And then they have this amazing sort of very tribal dance sequence, sort of based around Rocky Road to Dublin, which is phenomenal. And I think they use music. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. The way music's used in, say, the Night of the Hunter, where you have there's a sequence where Robert Mitchum is singing a hymn, and he's an evil preacher, and you have Lillian Gish defending this household, singing the same hymn back to him, and it's almost like the music's fighting.
Mm.
There's something in that sequence. If you imagine a whole film with that ethos just taken to its stylistic extremes, and you've got something like Sinners, which is, I think it's a great piece of entertainment, absolutely layered with ideas and sort of brilliantly acted. Fascinatingly, I don't know if you watch the rewatchables with Bill Simmons. And the whole idea is that they're kind of sports guys who apply sports matrices to movies. And the whole idea is like they're interested in rewatchable movies, not necessarily the best movies, but the movies that you always go back to. And they hardly ever pick a contemporary movie. And they said the only times they've done it is they've done it 3 times, and one of them was Sinners. And they did, and they were
Mm.
so blown away by it that they had to like canonize it as instantly rewatchable for now on and evermore. And it's we could spend the whole podcast talking about Sinners. And
Yeah.
I just, and again, I've been ambivalent about Ryan Coogler. I've enjoyed it. I didn't really like I liked, but wasn't really kind of on the Black Panther train. I like Creed. I've not seen Fruitvale Station for my sins, and so I remember seeing the trailer for Sinners. Thought, oh, that looks interesting. And then and then I just, Ryan Coogler's a great filmmaker now. If he never makes anything that approaches that, he's earned his place in American cinema as one of the contemporary greats. I think it's an extraordinary film. It's
Yeah.
sort of just, I'm in danger of just getting just ridiculously hyperbolic. So yeah, we've got other films to talk about, but
Yeah,
also
yeah,
the
yeah,
performances. I mean, Michael B. Jordan, I've sort of kind of
yeah.
respected, but I've never sort of. Obviously, he's great. I've never really been sort of, sort of caught up in his wake as an actor. But what he does in this movie, again, for people who don't know, he plays twins, sort of twin gangsters, is stunning, extraordinary acting. And then you've got a lot of really nice counter casting, like Haley Steinfeld from the Pitch Perfect movies, Teen Queen, and she's phenomenal. It's a grown up performance from her. It's like a real adult
Mm.
graduation, and then you got some lovely turns from like Delroy Lindo and these great I can't remember the guy that plays is it Corn, like the bouncer who Ryan
Yeah,
Coogler,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he's
Cornbread, that's
phenomenal. And
it.
there's so,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and he was apparently spotted. He wasn't spotted. Ryan Coogler, as a student filmmaker, met him and said, "I'm going to put you in a movie one day," and then just sort of wrote this part with him in mind, and that'll probably be the thing he's remembered for. And it's a phenomenal film. And then Darby's own, like Jack O'Connell,
Yeah.
phenomenal as the villain. Very, very good.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah,
Sinners is
yeah,
great.
same.
Yeah.
Just going back to the Michael B. Jordan stuff, I did see Fruitvale Station, and he was excellent in it. But I think he first came to prominence in the fourth series of The Wire as one
Mm.
of the kids, and I thought he was great in that as well. So seeing that, and then the transition to Fruitvale Station, and then I think maybe the next thing I might have seen was him in Black Panther. It was great because it's clearly a start. I haven't seen any of the Creed films, so I can't comment on those.
Yeah, but,
I
but I
saw
mean, the thing with it, he's always acted within a sort of. This isn't a criticism, but up to Sinners, he's always sort of acted within a very sort of naturalistic band that's not too far away from his own personality. He's adjusted his personality to the characters, and this was like. This was just kind of complete character work, wasn't he? It's like his
yeah,
body language, was the twins Smoke and Stack, and there's way that cat one sits into his hip and grins with his gold tooth, and that's kind of
mm,
charming and really menacing, and it's not like anything I've seen him do before, and it's a phenomenal. I hope, because I mean there's been a lot of talk about the sort of death of commercial cinema this year and how everything apart from Wicked for Good is not making any money. And the Warner Brothers have done really well, and they've done really well backing kind of visionary directors, and horror's done really well under the sort of guidance of these two Warner Brothers executives that almost got fired, I think,
yeah,
for
yeah,
greenlighting these movies before they'd ever had a chance to sort of fail or succeed. And I was really, and obviously we're both massive horror fans. The fact that sort of Weapons and Sinners were the two big in the sort of first 2/3 of the year, two big commercial hits. It's
yeah,
just brilliant. The fact that Sinners made money, and it was such a risk, and it could have just
yeah,
died on its arse, and and just been a cult movie. But the fact that it's become a cultural phenomenon and big commercial hit, and the fact that people are still talking about it sort of came out, I think, in the first quarter of the year.
yeah.
And people are still talking about it in terms of Oscar contention, and I hope it gets a ton of Oscar nominations, and I hope it gets loads of acting nominations as well. So it'd be wonderful to see that. So
Talking about the subtle performance of Michael B. Jordan, I watched Legend this year with Tom Hardy playing the Cray twins,
oh yeah,
and it's just not a very good film. Like it is, there's lots
no.
of potential, but it's just not very well put together. He's great in it. I mean, I enjoy Tom Hardy, but when you look at Tom Hardy's performance as those two characters as opposed to Michael B. Jordan, there's so much more subtlety in Michael B. Jordan's performances. You don't feel that you know there's a tendency with Tom Hardy to just be big in that sort of old Gary Oldman way, which I enjoy, I like. But then seeing what Michael B. Jordan does, it's just, yeah, beautiful, really stunning performance, and yeah, fully on
Yeah.
board. All right,
So,
mate,
so
your
that was
next one.
yeah. So that's it. We sort of because yeah, Sinners was one of mine. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good. We could justify talking for twice as long about Sinners.
yeah, yeah,
My
totally.
next one's Flow.
Nice, yeah, love Flow.
Yeah, Flow was. I'm just trying to have a look, see where I know it's Latvian, but it might have been. what is it? A Latvian, French, Belgian co-production. It doesn't matter because there's no dialogue in it, and it's I think it was the first. Was it the first sort of independent movie? I didn't even realize it because I've just become very disillusioned with the Oscars and just don't bother following them particularly. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
delighted to find out, which I should have known, that it won, I think, Best Animated Feature,
Yes.
and it has no dialogue, and it's a beautiful, very strange sort of elliptical animation about a cat in a world that has been populated by humans, but they're not there, and you're never told why. And you've just got all these animals like wandering around this world, and then the world starts to flood. It's almost like a biblical style flood, and again, you don't know why, you're
Mm,
not told. And it's just the adventures of this cat trying to survive as it kind of intersects with this other group of animals, and it's sort of beautiful and strange. It's exciting. It's as exciting as you'd want an animated film to be about an animal escaping a catastrophe. But there's so many like strange little elliptical bits in it, like what it just doesn't explain anything, about why
mm,
the people aren't there. You assume it's taking place like in our world a little bit sort of ahead of now, but then there's things that happen, like there's a whale creature that's not a whale.
mm,
It's clearly some weird whale hybrid that turns up, and then they have this amazing sequence where the only way I can describe it is where a pelican goes to heaven. And it's just this like weird sort of portally, kind of
yeah.
almost like sort of um 2001 Stargate sort of moment that I didn't see coming. And it's just,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was a beautiful piece of work, and just this really ambitious, strange animation. And they got, I mean, I love cats. I've got a cat. I'm a cat person, and they got cats down perfectly. It was just one of the best animated cats I've ever seen.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I liked Flo. I watched his previous film, Away, it was called, that he did a few years back. Similar sort of very strange animation about a guy, a kid on a motorbike, sort of traveling, trying to get to somewhere. And again, lots of unexplained. It's really more about the kind of visuals and the narrative. The music to Flow, I bought the LP soundtrack on vinyl. It's a really nice Mondo edition. I've heard the music. It's not a soundtrack that I keep playing, but I like the music, and I just thought, "Well, I'll buy it. It looks nice." Yeah, Flow was great, mate. It wasn't on my list, but Flow was lovely,
yeah,
and again, looked
yeah. It's
beautiful on the big screen. Yeah, very nice. Okay, and so Warfare. Warfare's my next one. Um, Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland directed a war film about that Ray Mendoza's experiences during the Iraq War as a US Navy SEAL. And it's like the Battle of Ramadi. It's an encounter of this sort of street battle where these soldiers get kind of blocked in to this one house and have to sort of find their way out and try and people are trying to come to save them. And it's all, I think it's at real time. Is that right? It feels like it's all real time. And again, just quite spectacular. You don't really, you're not looking at the story of relationships growing or anything. It's just this intense kind of battle sequence that's just so beautifully constructed. It's not, you can't say I feel like I was in there. That's not right. But it does have an immersive quality to it that sort of draws you in. And yeah, you feel maybe it's a little bit like Assault on Precinct 13, only with less character work. That kind of idea that the people are trapped in a building and they've got to get out. But yes, I thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant performances. I do like Will Poulter. He's always sturdy. And then DeFaro Wunatai, that's the kid from, what's the show? Reservation
Reservation
Dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah. Cosmo Jarvis, Kit Connor, Joseph Quinn. Yeah, I loved it, mate. I thought it was just an incredible film to see on the cinema. And actually, the first of two war films, kind of. Maybe there's a few more war films in there. Anyway, that's it. Warfare. You saw it? You enjoyed
Yeah,
it?
I liked it. I didn't see it. I kicked myself actually. I didn't see it at the cinema, and I should have
Hmm.
done, and I can't remember why. I think I was just never in the right mood. And I think it got piled on a little bit. It got some. I think it got some because I have subsequently seen it. It got some very unfair reviews. I think that was yeah. It's the normal things of like well, where's the Iraqi perspective? It's very, and I think well, the whole point is it's a soldier's perspective. That's the point of the film
Yeah.
is that it's a soldier's perspective, and you're seeing things through the eyes of a soldier's. There's no real contextualizing. Well, that's the point. You're dropped in, and then you're taken out,
Hmm.
and you're.
Hmm.
So I saw it when it came on Prime, and I kicked myself that I didn't see it at the cinema. So on two counts, that would disqualify me from putting it in the list. But also, I don't think I would have put it in my list, despite the fact that I really liked it, and maybe also to punish Alex Garland for writing 28 years later. So
Which maybe we might talk about that later
that's
then.
not my most hated film. That was
Okay.
a close second. I think I would
Yeah.
have.
I don't think I
Yeah, just
minded it. I just thought it was just a mess of a film and
yeah, it
had so
was.
many different tones. But
Yeah,
individually, I kind of didn't mind all the different tones. Like I think the next one, the 28, the, whatever it's called, is
the
more
Bone
about Jimmy
Temple, I think
Savile,
it's called.
right? Jimmy
Well, that
Savile
was that
and
was
the
well. I wasn't going to
drummers.
say that just in case people hadn't seen
Yeah,
it. I'm not going to
yeah.
elaborate on what you mean, but the
No,
very
yeah,
very ending, however good it might have been, the ending would have just upended it for me. And I just,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
can I just say it does deserve an honourable mention for the worst best experience in a cinema that has nothing to do with the film. I think I told you this. That, I was watching it with a friend of mine, and there was this whole row of like unruly kids that were just mucking about, knowing that because they took up a whole row, no one was going to do anything about it, and people had gone out to complain. And then a cinema manager, who I think who deserves the cinema manager's version of the Victoria Cross, stopped the film. I'll just stop because obviously did she pause the film, went in, lifted up the lights because she'd had a word with him a couple of times, and I'm used to sort of like people having a word and just nothing happening. And she actually stopped
Yeah.
and screamed them into leaving. She says, "This film is not going to go on until you guys leave, and if you don't leave, I'll call the police." And she just basically um, stared them down. And all it took was for one person to leave, and the rest had to trail out. And then there were two people left, and there was one bloke in the audience. And what she did psychologically was brilliant because obviously when they're like taking up the whole row, as the audience were a bunch of individuals and we're all a little bit scared, but she managed to turn the rest of the people into one unit against them. One guy got up and looked at these two lads that wouldn't leave. He goes, "Not ashamed." He just said to them, "There's no shame," and they just like went no, but then they left, and then she let people have like free popcorn only if they bought some before and free drinks, and we were just sort
Nice.
of glad handing her as she went out. So I've never seen management like that. That was amazing.
Great. Oh,
So
that's
so I won't
refreshing.
say which cinema it is because I don't want to get firebombed in a retaliatory. But it's a Nottingham cinema, and if you're listening, which I know you are, to our podcast, we salute you as the best cinema manager I've ever seen, just facing down an entire crowd of feral children, or
Nice,
teenagers.
nice.
Yeah.
I like
So,
it.
so yeah, I didn't like the movie, but I wouldn't have missed it for that experience. It was brilliant. It was just a whole lifetime of just, unregulated bad behavior in the cinema, sort of just, yeah, getting its apotheosis. I don't know. I don't even know what the word is, but it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Very
So is it my,
nice.
is it my turn?
Yeah, yeah. It's on you.
Well, if it's my turn, then my film is The Return or The Return. Yeah, so
Oh
that was
yeah,
very, yeah. So
yeah.
The Return. So the sort of the other version of the Odyssey, that's the first one, the one that got in first, and it's Ray Fiennes and Juliette Binoche movie that looks at the very sort of closing section of Homer's The Odyssey, where Odysseus returns home from war to see his kingdom basically sort of pillaged by um, people who are trying to assume he's dead and are trying to sort of marry his wife and kind of murder his son, like the thing out when convenient. And but it's very much a sort of study in war guilt, and they do something very interesting and they strip out all of the anything supernatural. So I think the gods might be mentioned, but in doing that, what they do is they take away anything of fate and the decree of the gods that might absolve Odysseus of guilt in spending 20 years away from his family and having
Mm.
killed and pillaged. And it's very ambiguous as to whether he's raped. There's a very interesting conversation with Juliette Binoche when she talks to him and asks him directly about that, and you don't know. And so so he's come back and he's almost in a state of paralysis, and then because he's sort of riddled with guilt and can barely sort of reveal himself to his wife and child, but needs to sort of tap into that obvious inner killer to give us the ending that we want and slaughter. So it's a very sort of cerebral, psychological art house take on the Odyssey that still gives you a phenomenal massacre at the end of the day, but is rooted in beautiful writing, partly by Edward Bond, the British playwright, the angry British playwright, which was the last thing he wrote before he died, and some phenomenal performances, especially from Ray Fiennes, who is, I think, one of our best actors. It made me go back and just rewatch a lot of his stuff, including Harry Potter, and he is phenomenal even in that. Well, I say even in that, I like Harry Potter films, but he's brilliant. He never puts a foot wrong. I think he's possibly, with the exception of Daniel Day-Lewis, and can we call Daniel Day-Lewis ours because he's Irish? Like essentially, I think he's our best living actor at the moment, and I think this film just. It's just a magnificent performance. I've not really done it justice. I feel like I babbled a bit, but it's just absolutely
No, mate, I
phenomenal.
think you did it. I'm listening
Yeah.
to you just going, "Oh, my descriptions are so shit compared to yours." So you did
Well,
very
I
good.
always feel like I babble, and then I listen
No,
to
no, no.
myself.
It's
No,
okay.
that sounded
It's
all
okay.
right. Yes, so there's that sort of jumble of insecurity and utter
Yeah,
arrogance when I listen
yeah.
to it back. I think, no, that was all right. That was, but no, it's a beautiful film, and if anybody sort of has any sort of warm feelings towards the Iliad or the Odyssey, I would, especially as the kind of official all bells whistles monsters massive budget version is coming out next year.
Round the
Uh,
corner.
yeah, around the corner. I wouldn't say it's an either or. I'd say the two probably complement each other enormously. If the Christopher Nolan one is any good, and I have a feeling it probably will be, um, I'd watch this as well. I think they're very, very complementary takes on one of the greatest works of literature
Mm,
in the history of
cinema.
storytelling and
Yeah.
whatnot. So there we go, The Return.
Yeah, I enjoyed The Return. Yeah, you put me onto that, and yeah, I had a lot of fun. I found it very engaging, and it wasn't a massive budgeted film, was it? Considering the subject matter, but it didn't need that. It became almost like a play with, as you say, a nice bit of gruesomeness at the end. Yeah, brilliant. And Ray Fiennes and Juliette Binoche, I just think were just wonderful, and just getting a chance to see them two-handed just doing their thing is just wonderful. Yeah, so nice one. It wasn't on my list, but I respected it a lot. Okay, so the next one is something that you just texted me about and said that it's not on your list, that it missed your list, but it was Blue Moon, the Richard Linklater. So I thought I'd do that anyway because we can just have a little conversation about the inspired by the love letters of Lorenz Hart and Elizabeth Wyland, starring Ethan Hawke, Margaret Qualley, Bobby Cannavale, Andrew Scott, and it's basically like near the end of Lorenz Hart's life, and he reflects on his sort of like past at the opening of Oklahoma, the opening of that new musical by his former partner Richard Rodgers. Rodgers and Hart became Rodgers and Hammerstein. Beautiful. It's like a play. It's just set in a bar, and I just thoroughly was charmed by it. I thought it was very sad. It was very human, and the interactions were just beautiful. It was like it's nice acting again. No bells, no whistles. Although it looked beautiful, like the set direction was amazing, and the way it was filmed was great. But it's just an interior, so it felt like a posh kitchen sink drama. the kitchen sink drama set in a five-star hotel. Yeah, loved it. I think Ethan Hawke's great. He's kind of, I don't know if there's much he can kind of do wrong, really. I like everything about. I like listening to his interviews. I think he's just got a nice head on him, and considering, he was a child star, really. What was the Dead Poets Society? Was that one of the first ones that he was kind of really big in? And
Explorers as well. He's a
right,
little
I don't think I saw
kid.
that. That's Dante, isn't it?
Him and
Joe
River
Dante.
Phoenix going into space. I think it's a Joe Dante film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, but the transition between going from a kid actor, similar to different trajectory, but similar to Nicholas Hoult, able to just kind of transition into. But Ethan Hawke now is a filmmaker, is a writer, is a polymath. Yeah. What can you add? What can you add? For that?
I feel guilty. I should have put this in the list. I should have had an 11 because I thought it was brilliant. I saw it 2 days
Mm.
ago. You saw it at the festival. Did you see it at the Sydney Film
Yeah,
Festival?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, you saw it quite a while ago. I saw it. Yeah, so it's very fresh in my mind. And I just think
Mm.
if you like magnificent acting, it's a must. You've got to go and see it. And it is. I'd love to see it as a play with that cast. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah,
Uh,
my God.
and what you've got at the heart of it is this very because he's a challenging character, isn't he? Um, this guy's constantly performing and masking his humiliation at being passed over. I suppose in the first half of the 20th century, he's one of the great. He is him and Richard Rodgers are the great songwriting duo, and he knows that the baton's been passed. He's not going to get it back, even though Oscar Hammerstein's constantly trying to offer him like
Mm.
compensatory jobs,
Mm.
and he's not quite ready to admit that it's all his fault because he's a drunk and he's kind of obsessive and he's jealous and he talks constantly. And so I thought it was really interesting because the front and center of it is this incredible, almost non-stop verbal performance. And the thing that fascinated me as I don't know, a former actor and you're an actor, and the thing that fascinated me was that they put him up against some of the best reactors there's some great reactive acting. So Bobby Cavanelli as the barman,
Carnival. Mm.
Carnival, sorry.
Mm.
Um, he's phenomenal as a consummate barman. He's almost like the patron saint of barman in this, and is just
Mm.
listening, occasionally commenting, and there's this real contrast between this sort of gay, loquacious, small, unattractive man, and Bobby is this like big, kind of tough, but he kind of gets him, doesn't he? And he sort of he's very secure in who he is, and there's this nice little kind of tension between his sort of taciturnity but affection, and then Andrew Scott is phenomenal to the point where
Mm.
all the stuff with Margaret Qualley, although she's brilliant in it. I wasn't that interested in because she's not worthy of his attention. I don't think he projects so much onto her, and she's brilliant and she doesn't do anything wrong. But the real love story is, it's a real breakup movie about two artists who can't work with each other. And all the stuff with Andrew Scott, I think it's so difficult to play a nice man compellingly, and he just plays this kind, incredibly gifted guy who's trying to help but also field a very, very difficult, brilliant, but utterly self-destructive person. And it's a terrific film. I'm going
Mm.
to stick it in. Actually, I'm going to
Yeah,
officially
man. Why not?
canonize
Why
it. Yeah,
not?
I've got 11
Yeah.
films now on my list of 10,
All
and
right.
it's in there. So no, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But also,
Yeah.
you got there's loads of little kind of. Did you notice there's a lovely little kind of run of in jokes like he, and they don't make a big thing of it. Like the journalist E.B. White that he's talking to
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
on to write Stuart Little, and he
Yeah.
gives him the idea without realizing
Yeah.
it. And then
Yeah.
the young guy, the young George
Yes,
Hill is
George
George
Roy Hill,
Hill.
mate.
And he goes,
I
just never,
spotted that
never,
as
never,
soon as it
never,
happened.
don't concentrate. It's all about male friendship. And he's going to go on
Yeah,
to,
yeah, yeah.
and then I love the little Stephen Sondheim cameo, like Stephen
Yes,
Sondheim,
yeah,
like,
same, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was just great. It was just like, it was, if you look, if you're a lover of theatre, musical theatre, Damian, one of your favorite films is all about musical theatre. And also Sinners has been almost like described by cast members
It's
as
a
a musical.
musical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so there we go.
yeah.
It's it's sort of seeping its way through the cracks of your defenses, and you'll be broken down by stealth musicals or musical adjacent movies. Two of them are in your lists.
Yeah,
There
true,
we go.
true.
No,
Okay, on to you.
the next one might be. This might be on your list actually. The Ballad of Wallace Island.
It's not on my list, but I thoroughly
Oh,
enjoyed it.
beautiful, beautiful British comedy. Um, sort of Tim Key and Tom Basden and Kerry Mulligan. It's a kind of a three-hander, but you've got some assists from, I can't remember her name, the actress who plays Fleabag's sister in Fleabag, who's really good. Yeah, and it's almost like would you say it's like a modern Ealing comedy?
Yeah, it does have that feeling, doesn't it? It does feel
Yeah.
like an oldie schooly kind of
Mm.
feel to it. You don't see films like that being made,
No,
right?
you
I mean,
don't. And it does, but it doesn't feel quaint or twee. It feels very
no.
sharp, but it's very, very, very warm. There's no bad guys in it, and it's just this broken people. There's like three broken people, or two very broken people, and one person who's probably not that broken. It's like fielding
Yeah,
these
yeah.
two. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
it's a sort of film about a folk singer who's basically lured to an island. It's more or less owned by this eccentric who loves his music, but particularly loved him when he was in a sort of husband and wife folk partnership, and unbeknown to him, has brought the wife along for what they both think is a concert to the island, and the island is basically just this man who you find out is brilliant. He's like won the lottery twice, which is and so just has more money than he'll ever be able to spend, and he's just very lonely and sort of broken, and it's just how mainly these two broken men sort of, I don't know, they just work out their differences in this very Ealing-esque sort of trapped on an island sort of situation, and it's so witty and so warm
Very
and
funny, very
yeah,
funny.
Tom Basden, I think, has been this sort of underrated quiet man of comedy for years, and Tim Key has come out under the shadow of
Alan
Alan
Partridge.
Partridge, and and has just created this wonderful sort of solo comic character, and yeah, it was just a beautiful. It's a sort of movie I didn't think I would enjoy, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was
Yeah,
wonderful.
again, that was thanks to you because I saw that at the film festival and I wouldn't have probably seen it, to be fair. Like it would have just been somewhere over there, maybe. But yeah, you saying go and see it, and I thoroughly had a great time. Thought it was
One more
beautiful.
thing to say about it that I've just remembered. I remember seeing it. I saw it in like Nottingham Broadway Cinema on their biggest screen, and it's a movie that you don't think of. You think of it. It's basically you think of it, a little bit like Blue Moon. You think of it as a chamber piece because it's essentially about three characters, but because it's set on an island. I can't remember where it is. Is off the coast of Cornwall or something. I can't remember where geographically it's situated, but it absolutely looks beautiful and it works magnificently on a big massive screen because
Mm,
they don't overdo it, but they do take advantage of the fact that it's an island in the middle of an ocean in one of the most beautiful parts of England. And so I mean it's one of these movies that simultaneously works incredibly well like on a television screen, but if you can see it in a cinema screen on a
yeah,
big
I
screen,
agree. I agree.
yeah, just watch it. It's wonderful. Not a lot
Yeah.
more to say about that.
Yeah, very nice. That was lovely. Okay, my next one may be on your list, but I'm not 100% sure. It's The Life of Chuck.
Oh no, it's not. It
Okay.
almost it
Yeah,
missed it
yeah,
by a
yeah.
whisker. But yeah. No, go on, talk about it. I did like this film
Yeah,
very much.
so Life of Chuck, based on a Stephen King novella, I think maybe, directed by the king of horror, Netflix horror, Mike Flanagan. It's about the story of a man told very sort of out of sequence. There's as you're watching the film, you never, you're not only as the film progresses do you sort of understand what's happening. It's sort of very mysterious and beautiful and just uplifting. There's obviously a dance sequence in it that Tom Hiddleston does.
There's a what? Sorry,
A dance sequence.
you mean like a musical dance sequence?
Well, yeah,
Would
but
you
there wasn't
describe
any
that as
singing, mate.
one of the
So
best
no.
one of the best sequences in the film?
I think it's one of those when you've seen the film as well and you understand the connection of that dance to what's going on. It was beautiful. The whole thing was beautiful. It was a wonderful film about existence, I've thought lots about the quote. Is it the Whitman quote? We contain multitudes. That's right, isn't it? Beautiful, stunning, beautiful. I only seen it once, so it'd be nice to see it again. But I also saw that at the film festival. So, yeah, a lot of my films came from the festival this year.
Yeah, no,
What can you
I
add?
agree. It didn't make my list, but I thought it was wonderful. I loved it. And I did wonder when I was watching it if it would make my list. And I have to say, if we were doing a list of favorite sequences, the dance sequence is astonishing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Tom Hiddleston is an incredibly good dancer.
Mm,
I have to say. But also I like Mike Flanagan. And one of the things I like Mike, apart from his mission to adapt every sort of Stephen King work in existence, as well as taking on like all the other horror sort of giants in his like numerous Netflix House of seasons. But I like his commitment. I always like actors who have stock companies of actors, and it's just a delight just to see more or less everyone he's ever worked with and a few new faces just have their little moment. Because it's a film that like it's an episodic film, isn't it? That sort of it's told in three chapters, and it's the span of a man's life. So there's plenty of scope for like a day's work here, for that person in,
mm,
Midnight Mass, played the villain, and
yeah,
Matthew Lillard and Mark Hamill. What he's doing with Mark Hamill is astonishing. And what Mark Hamill's sort of place as well as a kind of sort of slightly evil hamstery looking character actor at the moment is marvelous. I think his career is so
yeah,
much more interesting than Harrison Ford's, and
yeah.
yeah, and I love that. I loved just seeing all of these people he's worked with, including Karen Gillan, who I think was in Oculus and hasn't worked with.
Gillen,
To the
yeah.
point where I thought,
Mm,
oh, did they not get on? Because I keep,
mm.
and then obviously not. She's very busy, and then new people, Chiwetel Ejiofor, he's lovely, and it was just. Yeah, it was a beautiful film, and I really enjoyed it. It's very moving, and I'm glad it's on your list, even though it didn't quite make mine.
Mia Sara as well, proper coming back to in front of the camera, behind the in front of the
Oh,
camera for the first time
was that the lady
since
from
Ferris
Ferris
Bueller.
Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah, and
Yeah, no,
Legend.
because she was
Yeah,
excellent. And
she
I
was
thought, who is
great.
she? Who is she? And I had to look her
Mm.
up. And I thought, oh my goodness. Yeah, no, she was brilliant.
And the Nick Offerman's narration
Yes, Nick
is
Offerman's
that
narration was
there's a
great.
real and that links to something else that I'm sure you're going to talk about, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, that was the first of two really wonderful narrations that just fit both the films really stunningly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick Offerman, beautiful, and some of the quotes that he said, and all the Carl Sagan
Is a
stuff. Yeah,
second narration by Will Patton by
it is
any chance?
actually. It is, mate. It's yeah, it
Okay,
is.
we'll talk about that in my next
Yeah.
one's an odd one. My next one's a film that's quite difficult to talk about because I'm not 100% sure what it was about. It's The Shrouds, David Cronenberg's latest movie,
Mm,
which
okay.
barely, I think, did really well on the festival circuit and barely got a release over here to the point where I had to go all the way from Nottingham to Leicester to see it. And
Well done. Commitment.
it stuck with me. It's one of these movies that's just lingered in my mind, and it's really, to say it's a strange film and a Cronenberg film is to state the obvious, but I'm not sure what it is genre. It's very difficult to categorize because on the surface it looks like a sort of body horror conspiracy theory because it's about a multimillionaire who loses his wife, and his whole business is to provide a cemetery where people can observe their loved ones decaying, and so they have sort of cameras in these graves, and you can literally go and like look through like a little peephole, and it's a way of sort of staying connected to the person. And he has all these kind of strange like iterations of his dead wife, like he sees her in things that he might be being haunted. These might be like waking dreams, hallucinations, but his wife, and you find out about the nature of his wife's disease and things like that. He has this attraction to his sister-in-law, and he has a computer avatar that looks exactly like his wife, and he has these kind of intimate levels of intimate relationships with all of them. and they're all played by Diana Kruger, and she
Mm.
might be my performance of the year because she's phenomenal, and 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 then someone starts vandalizing the graves, and his brother-in-law's Guy Pearce, who believes that there's this kind of cabal that are out to get him and then out to get Vincent Cassel. But then all of that sort of comes to nothing. It's almost like it's like a thriller with no thrills and a conspiracy theory where they don't explain the conspiracy, but it's compelling because it's really all about him and his wife. And it has all the Cronenbergian elements that you might want. Like it doesn't have any strange creatures, but it has decay. It's got his very sort of sleek, architecturally sleek sort of production design. A brilliant performance. And I just wrote in my notes that he's a really underrated director of actresses. I was just like kind of clocking off brilliant actresses' performances in his movies, and he brings stuff out in actresses that I'll tell you, I was watching that's kind of, it's just occurred to me. I was watching Drugstore Cowboy the other day, and how brilliant Kelly Lynch is in that, and how
Mm.
it's almost like she made that the same year as Roadhouse. And you'd be forgiven for watching the two movies, not even realizing it was the same person. And the fact that that was in her and nobody thought to tap into it apart from Gus Van Sant, and nobody did afterwards as well, as far as I'm aware.
Mm.
And I think Cronenberg just sees the kind of strange and the dark and the interesting in actresses and just sort of brings it out. And I just thought it was a compelling movie, and it has, a lot of kind of very, very strange sex in it. What two sex sequences, one of which is horrible in its kind of, oh, you want a bit of literal body horror, here it is. But it's a very moving film, and a really elliptical film, and a strange film to try and kind of unpack, because it's not anything that it's advertised as. And I don't think he really makes horror. I don't know if you saw Crimes of the Future, as previous film. It's got
No.
monsters in it. It's got mutants in it, but I wouldn't call it a horror film, and I wouldn't call this. And they're Cronenberg films, so he just creates these little movies that are kind of unique to him, more so
Mm.
than ever, I think, because even when you look at his early films are definitely horror films, filtered through his perceptions and obsessions, or crime films where he did his run of movies with Viggo Mortensen in the like History of Violence, but these are just like kind of works unto his own obsessions that don't fall into any easy category. And I think since David Lynch has died, he's like one of the
Mm.
few people that kind of exists on that plane where you're going to see a movie just to sort of sit in his sit in his obsession, sit in his
Mm.
brain, and that's
Mm.
and
Mm.
that's what you're paying for. But it was just one of these movies that has just lingered with me until now, and I
Mm.
thought, no, The Shrouds needs to go in. So there we go.
Great.
Yeah,
Nice. I'll definitely get that on my list.
yeah.
I know what you're saying about. I watched Videodrome recently, which is the first time I'd seen it for a long time. That's a cracking film. Again, very sort of strange, obviously strange, unnerving, unsettling. Is it a horror film? I mean, it's a horror film, but it's not really a horror film. It's, again, I think Cronenberg does that, similar to, as you said, similar to Lynch. He makes films that have horror in them, but they're not horror films, really.
But there's not an ounce of horror in this, other than
Mm,
the horror of grief and the
yeah.
shock of decay, and what disease can
Mm,
do to the body and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very moving film. I really enjoy. I thought it was great.
wonderful,
An
wonderful.
old man, still, absolutely true to his vision, and reasonably prolific as well, and just still knocking them out the park. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I like it. Yeah, I'm all for it. Okay, my next film was I think it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year. It was Just an Accident by Jafar Panahi, the Iranian filmmaker. It's a film about the potential for forgiveness, absolute sort of hideous crimes against humanity, And then when you face the perpetrator of that or potential perpetrator of that, how do you find it within yourself to forgive? It's about a guy who hears this man with a prosthetic leg that has a certain squeak that is definitely the person who captured him and tortured him, this car mechanic. And he ends up capturing this guy and then gathering other people who were also tortured by this guy. And they blindfold him and then they're taking him around trying to work out what to do with him. And it's just a really stunning, stunning piece of film. I think it's out maybe in January, but I would
It's out here now,
definitely.
actually. I
Is
think.
it?
I
Is
think
it out
it's out
already?
at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please go and see it. It's a really powerful film. Jafar Panahi's like an incredible filmmaker who is making films in a regime that is not into that kind of films. He's been in prison. He's smuggled films out of his country in order to get a release, and he was there at the film festival. Unfortunately, the attacks by Israel against Iran happened around that time, so he just was in the audience. But they did a big retrospective of his films, and I thought, yeah, do you know what? I need to go back. I've only seen a few of his other films. This is not a film, and so yeah, it was just an accident. That was up there again, a film that stayed with me, like you were saying. Yeah. Okay, over to you.
Weapons.
Yeah, nice. We'll just double up there because that's on my list as well.
Yeah, good, nice one. Yeah, weapons. Great, cheeky, nasty, kind of horror film that's also like I would say the closest we've got to a modern grim fairy tale as well. So there's this sort of real elements of the Pied Piper, because if you've seen the trailer, which they don't give too much away in the trailer. I think I'm trying to look. I forget the director's name.
Zach Cregger.
Zach Cregger. Zach Cregger. They did this with Barbarian. He's very into like non-linear filmmaking, giving you like his films in chapters, and then giving you a trailer that sort of sets up enough of an idea that you want to see it, and doesn't sort of give any of the big secrets away. So, for people who haven't seen the movie, it's essentially about a teacher who turns up to work one day and all of her children, bar one, have disappeared. No one knows where they've gone, and she's, without any evidence, blamed by the town. And then weird supernatural stuff kind of is unearthed, and it's such good fun. And it's one of these movies. It's a difficult one to talk about without giving stuff away, and I don't want to. It has possibly, I think, comparable with Jack O'Connell in Sinners, one of the best villains of any film I've seen this year. And I won't say any more than that. And it's just a satisfyingly clever, funny, outrageous, nasty horror film that seems to be going in a direction. I love it when films, you think, we had this with Immaculate. We were talking about this last time we did this, where they set up where you think Immaculate is going in terms of its climax. You think they're not going to go there. Oh, they've gone there. Brilliant. And they kind of do that with, there's a way it needs to end. And it doesn't just end there. They just really go to town on it, and you think, yeah, nice one. Yeah, that was a very satisfying ending, and it's such an entertaining night out at the cinema. If you like, I would say even if you don't like horror, it's a good movie to sort of introduce people. And of course it's brilliant. And because at the beginning of the year we were sort of very hard on Julia Garner for The Awful Wolfman. And she just, she redeems herself here. She's terrific.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin's great.
Yeah.
There's some great performances. Benedict Wong and the guy whose name I can't remember, who was Han Solo in the Solo movie.
Yeah, he was really good.
He is really good, and I always feel like he's too good looking to be a movie star. So it's a good job that Solo failed, because he's one of the best things in is it Hail Caesar, because he's the inarticulate actor who can't say what it were. Oh, I can't even say it myself. would that it were so simple that Ray Fiennes is constantly trying to get him to say this simple line, and he's brilliant, and he manages to match Ray Fiennes, and then I think he's one of the few things I liked about Cocaine Bear, and he's terrific in this, and I always don't recognize him and think, who's that guy? Look him up and go, oh, it's him again, the guy
Is
from
it
Solo. Fantastic.
Alden
Yeah.
Ehrenreich?
Yeah, he's great as an
Yeah,
idiot cop, isn't he? And it's just
yeah.
very good film. Just go and see it. If you like horror movies, you want like really entertaining night out. Even if you're not a bit ambivalent about horror movies, I think this is a good sort of gateway drug into really entertaining, cleverly constructed, satisfyingly concluded horror.
Yeah, he did a similar thing with Barbarian in
I
the,
thought
you know, the
Barbarian was
ending.
nastier, wasn't it? I
It,
thought
it
Barbarian
was
was a lot
nastier.
nastier.
Yeah, it was nastier, but like, you know, where the ending was, or like, you know, the journey that it goes on was like just as balls out. In fact, the whole premise, everything about Barbarian was like Weapons. Just Weapons was really quiet until it wasn't. You know, it was quiet with a simmering of like tension and what the fuck is
Until the
going on
end, and then the
here.
ending's just
Yeah,
absolutely nuts, isn't
and
it?
I love it, mate. Like Zach Cregger is my, you know, is definitely sort of at the top of the list. I think for you know, Osgood Perkins after Long Legs was one of those, but you know, I like half his films and I don't like half his films. So
Yeah.
whereas Zach Cregger so far, I mean, I've only seen those two. I don't know if he's done anything else, but
I
I'll
think
definitely
Oscar
be.
Perkins takes bigger stylistic swings because you can really see a kind of structurally you can see like a real like this isn't a criticism, it's just an observation. You can see with Barbarians they're almost like just in terms of the way he arranges his narrative information, they're almost like the same, aren't they? Because he tells
Mm,
a story in a non-linear fashion,
yeah,
and sort of tells it in chapters. He literally has chapter, you know. But
yeah,
also, I like the element of ellipsis as well, which you don't get in Barbarian. Everything's explained at the end of Barbarian, which is fine. But there's little
yeah.
bits that people are still commenting upon. Like there's a dream, there's a vision, isn't there? There's a dream that yeah, people that Josh Brolin has that people are just still talking about what it means, and he doesn't
Mm,
explain it, you know, and
yeah.
he's almost sort of, you know, and he won't explain it. He just sort of puts this image, you know, floating above a house that Josh
Mm,
Brolin sees, and you don't, you know, it's up to you as to how that sort of connects with the rest of the narrative. And I like that. I like the fact that
yeah.
it's everything that needs to be explained is explained, and then there's enough mystery and ellipsis, which is good because apparently he's going back to that world. He's going to kind of explore more avenues of the story, I think, in
Yes. Yeah, that's yeah.
yeah, without
Yeah.
giving anything away. Because if you say what
Just
avenue it's
don't
exploring, it just cut. Yeah,
yeah.
pardon?
Don't do a uh
28 years later.
Pearl, X Pearl, and then the last one. Just don't do that
Oh
last
yeah,
one.
yeah, no problems with Pearl. Yeah, Maxine. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Maxine could have
Maxine,
been
that's it.
brilliant. I think if he was, ironically, I think if he was kind of a bit more streamlined and less ambitious in a way, it could have been
Mm,
amazing. If it was just her and one killer, that would have been a phenomenal film.
yeah,
I think. Yeah,
yeah,
there was just
yeah,
too many moving parts, too many weird conspiracies.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Not very well put
Although
together.
Mia Goth was great in all three.
Yes,
Yeah.
as always. Yeah, she's I
Yeah,
really
so
like her.
yeah, I won't say any more about Mia Goth just yet. But
Yeah, okay. So my next one is the last one from the film festival, and it was a film called Sirat, Sirat. It was directed by Oliver Lax, who's a French-born Spanish film director, and it's about a father played by Sergi Lopez, famously from Pan's Labyrinth. That's right. He's the
villain,
main
the
sort of
captain, the
the
evil
main villain.
captain in
Yeah,
Pan's
yeah. He's a father in search of his missing daughter in the deserts of southern Morocco. He basically travels around to loads of different raves because she was last seen at one of these raves, and it's also a film that doesn't necessarily give you answers and is definitely, although it's not supernatural, it has elements of okay, something's going on over there, but we don't really know the specifics of it. And it obviously has some bearing on what we're seeing here. And it contains, you know, yeah, incredible sequences that, again, stayed with me. It was a film that I probably wouldn't have seen had I not seen it at the film festival. And it was just, it's just kind of a slow burn, but the music's great. The rave scenes, like seeing it in a cinema and hear the big sounds, the techno coming through, and then this man with his son looking for his daughter, his son and a dog, I think it is, and they get together with a bunch of ravers and travel across this desert in order to go to the next rave. But yeah, when that's out, it won the jury prize at Cannes this year, and was submitted for best international feature for the Oscars, I think. Yeah, I like that a lot. Over to you.
All right, House of Dynamite would be my next
Yeah,
movie.
that's one of mine as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Catherine Bigelow, her return. I can't remember it seems like ages since she last made a movie, and it was Detroit, I think was the last film she made. And it's the American government facing a nuclear crisis when a missile's launched. They don't know where it's been launched from. And all their fail-safe devices that cost billions of dollars seem to fail. And they're looking at the prospect of a nuclear weapon hitting a major city, and what are they going to do about it? And it's told, it's the same sequence of time played, from different perspectives as we move further and further up the American chain of command. So the first bit is was it a kind of analyst situation room, and then you've got the kind of top military brass, and then you've got the President of the United States, and it is it's probably the scariest film I've seen this year, and it's not a horror film, and it's brilliantly acted. I always describe it as like an episode of The West Wing. If you have people as intelligent in The West Wing, whose expertise couldn't solve a problem. Again, beautifully constructed. A lot of these films that we're talking about are told out of sequence. A lot of the films we've told have been told in chapters out of sequence. That seems to be a thing this year. And it's just what Catherine Bigelow does best. This very sort of journalistically precise, brilliantly acted by razor-sharp actors, sort of look into some aspect of, American foreign policy, or kind of, sort of aspects of sort of military life under duress, and it has a phenomenal performance by an actor I've never been a massive fan of, which is Idris Elba. So there's so many great actors in it that you expect to be great and are great, but I just think sort of special attention as Idris Elba agnostic, that he is outstanding as a very caught off guard Obama-esque, because the first thing you see him do is a basketball match, isn't he? So there are kind of allusions to Obama, even though you're never told what political. I don't think you're ever told what party he represents. That's not the point, because it's about a crisis that would absolutely sort of upend any administration, and it's just a phenomenal political thriller.
Amazing. Rebecca Ferguson is brilliant. She's in everything at the moment. She's one of the never shits. She's always fun to watch. Always the never shits. Never shit. She's like they're never shit. No, they're just never shit in anything.
Oh, right.
What I'm saying?
They just don't do bad performance.
But Billy Bob Thornton would be another one. Just people who you know, and I love what she does. If she's like the female Pedro Pascal, in the sense that she's in everything. Pedro Pascal is a little bit more extrovert, and she's just kind of doing her thing, but creating equally incredible work. And Tracy Letts as the writer actor, as one of the colonels or something. I thought he was brilliant. Just the performances are amazing. Jared Harris, amazing. A brilliant film. On my list
Rebecca
as well.
Ferguson isn't playing a witch. I think she is in everything. She plays every variation on a witch.
Witch. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's not playing a witch. She's playing a high, an absolute apex working mum.
Yeah, I thought it was wonderful. Thank you for that again. That would be you gave me a nudge. You've been very good this year. I mean, we're usually quite good to each other, but I've definitely benefited, I think, more from you this year of recommendations, and also
good either Netflix produced or Netflix backed content. Gets its 2 weeks in the cinema, and your turn.
Be on my next one. My last one is One Battle After Another, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro, and with a phenomenal, I'm predicting Oscar-winning performance from Sean Penn. I thought he was incredible. Like you, I think the first 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes, I was enjoying it, but I wasn't sure what it was. I didn't know where it was going. And then it kind of takes off. And once it takes off, it doesn't stop. And, you know, takes you on this incredible roller coaster journey of this revolutionary who is trying to protect his daughter in this sort of counterculture revolutionary. It's set now, right?
It's not. Well, people have talked about that, yeah, but maybe not.
It's never specific, is it?
Do they use mobile phones at all in it? I can't remember.
I think so, but then that still gives you 20 years of scope of like potential mobile phones. But didn't see smartphone phony. Paul Thomas Anderson, Boogie Nights are one of my favourite films. Magnolia is brilliant. I've not seen that. I need to rewatch that. I really like Paul Thomas Anderson, again, going back to directors who use the same kind of actors, a repertory like Mike Flanagan did. Although in this, I don't know who's there. There's no Louis Guzman, is there?
I don't think there's anybody in this that he's used before. I think it's a completely new set of actors, isn't it?
You see, other people, for example, I didn't really like Phantom Thread. I didn't really like Licorice Pizza. I didn't hate it. I wasn't overly enamored by it. And I think this was kind of nice to see Paul Thomas Anderson, for me, back to a kind of a real sort of energetic, especially as a 50-year-old director or whatever he is now, energetic film that of the likes that you don't really see, very 70s cinema. And don't they show a little clip of Battle of Algiers, which is a nice nod, and the film has a Battle of Algiers kind of feel, docu-realism, I loved it. That's it.
I think I admired it more than I loved it, and I think the first sort of 25 minutes kind of probably nixed it from it being in my list, because I just found it very screamy, shouty. Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, was a bit too shouty in it for me, but I love the ending. I thought it kind of it accrued entertainment value as it went on. Entertainment value just sounds like damning it with faint praise, but I thought the ending was just marvelous. And I tell you what I really liked. I loved any actor who loves old forgotten character actors, and the fact that you had I can't remember his name. I remember he's the guy that plays the bartender the guy that runs the club in Roadhouse. He's one of the killers in Mate One, and he's one of the nastier generals in Geronimo, and he's part of the white supremacist cabal. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, and it's just lovely. I mean, in the same way that the guy that directed Mud, is that Jeff Nichols? Brought Joe Don Baker out of retirement to play a kind of a similar role as this kind of evil patriarch sending people out to kill Matthew McConaughey. No, I thought the ending was great. I thought Sean Penn was phenomenal, and if he wins another Oscar, I haven't really got a problem with that. And yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it, and funnily enough, I really did like Licorice Pizza and Phantom Thread. So they're just sort of on slightly different Paul Thomas Anderson frequencies with those particular movies. He's one of the greats, and I really admire Leonardo DiCaprio's commitment to working with every great American director sort of out there at the moment, and he just seems to be just going through them. So it was a good film. I didn't love it, but
so is this
Train Dreams?
Is this your last one?
No, it's my second. I might make it my last one. I might drop because I added. I'll keep Blue Moon in, and I'll tell you what I'll remove. Although I'm reluctant to remove it. No, the film I'm going to remove. Although I have to say it deserves to be in the top 10. And you recommended this would have been Keeper, the Osgood Perkins horror movie.
Yeah, we can talk about Keeper as well. I think that's a
a little bit. Yeah, Keeper's brilliant. And I never felt there was a drop off in form with Osgood Perkins. You definitely did. You're half and half.
Didn't like the monkey.
Yeah, I like the monkey. I thought it was a very, very good sort of gun for hire job. I thought I liked it. I thought it was funny. It was nasty. It was sort of different flavors of Osgood Perkins, but Keeper. We're talking about Keeper now. So Keeper's in then, because as we're talking about it, I'm going to have 11, and Keeper was, again, if you wrote down the plot of Keeper, it's very simple. But the way he just has this very immersive kind of strange, coming at things from odd angles sort of way of telling what could be a very conventional story in somebody else's hands. And again, it's another like three-hander, this sort of relationship gone wrong drama that involves ghosts, curses, and some of the best designed nightmarish creatures I've seen in any horror movie this year. And again, he's a great director of actresses. So it's Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, she's phenomenal, and she's his muse basically. I think she's in his next movie. She was in The Monkey. He seems to have like sort of binned Micah Monroe, which is a shame, and gone with her. But she's great, and it was a phenomenal Ghost in the Woods story put through Osgood Perkins' strange filters.
Rossif Sutherland, Donald Sutherland's son as well, was the main guy.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so even I love Tatiana Maslany. I thought she was great, but I really liked him as well. I thought that he was equally just had some wonderful.
I think he had the harder job, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And pulled it off really well. Like she was more the reactor, I suppose. One of the things I loved about Keeper was that I went in the cinema after seeing the trailer that just doesn't tell you anything. You don't really have a clue. I think I must have got maybe an hour into it before I realized, okay, what might be happening. And that and the previous hour when I was going, I really don't know where this is going, who's good, who's bad, what's the source of this, what is this really? I was enjoying it. I didn't feel frustrated. Like I was really pleasantly unpatronized by the filmmaker, and yeah, that I love it. That was just on my sort of the bottom of the list as well for me, just sort of shaved off. But yeah, I agree, mate. Brilliant. What's his next film? Oscar
I don't know, but he's Nicole Kidman's in it, so you're probably not going to go and see it. But it's it's I can't remember. But I remember
young people.
Yeah, and I think it's got Nicole Kidman and Tatiana
and Johnny Knoxville and Heather Graham.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah. Heather Graham's a very underrated actress. I was amazed. I kind of forgot that she'd had 10 years between sort of Drugstore Cowboy and Boogie Nights, and how good she is in Drugstore Cowboy. Just to go back to that, she's phenomenal in that, and she's having a great sort of kind of Indian summer of a career in her 50s. She's appearing in some terrific, like little low budget, straight to streaming movies, mainly horror films. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Train Dreams is my last one.
Yeah. That's sort of on my list as well, really, whatever, unofficially.
Yeah. I've got an extra one. Just stick it in, make it 11 a piece. I'd feel bad if Train Dreams is, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just, on the surface, it's a story of a very quiet interior man's life in the first half of the 20th century, who spends most of his life going into the woods to sort of saw down trees and coming back to kind of quite a lonely existence until he meets Felicity Jones and has this kind of almost like Edenic period of domestic happiness, which goes wrong. And then he's kind of haunted by mistakes he's made at home and mistakes he's made in his job. And it's kind of like a ghost story without any literal ghosts, or are there? There's that lovely ambiguity, and then it's very episodic, and that he encounters all these fascinating people along the way, which are great opportunities to drop in a magnificent character actor performance. And there's something I'd sort of described it almost like, the stories that I sort of introduce you to, and you like some of them, the John the Balladeer folk horror Appalachian
Southern
ghost
Gothic sort of
it's almost like a John the Balladeer story if you took all the supernatural elements out of it. So Stephen King says that's the litmus test of good horror, is if you took the horror out, and you more or less said this like about Keeper indirectly, if you took all the horror out, would you still want to spend time with these characters? And it sort of leans into being a little bit of a ghost story. It's beautifully structured, it's incredibly moving, very quiet. There's a lot. I mean, if you wrote down the dramatic instances in it, there's natural catastrophe, there's murder, but it's not that kind of film. The film's very quiet, it's very meditative, and it's just about this very quiet man's. These aren't my words. I remember, I think I've read this in The Guardian, that he's got this rich interior life that he doesn't really know how to articulate. And then over the course of his life, he meets people that kind of draw elements of that out. And it's just beautiful rural um kind of, just great American movie. And at the heart of it, and I do hope he gets awards recognition, is I would say perhaps one of the most underrated actors moving in film, because he's very quiet. He's always quiet. And and that's I've forgotten his name.
Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton, yeah, Australia's own Joel Edgerton, who's
Mm,
such an intelligent actor, such a thoughtful
mm,
actor, and this is just built around him. I like Felicity Jones anyway; she's
hmm
wonderful in it, and I'm glad that she's getting this kind of resurgence of really good roles post The Brutalist, and
mm.
again you've got these beautiful little vignettes, character vignettes from like sort of William H. Macy as a dynamite man,
Beautiful.
Kerry Condon, who I love, who's also great. This might have made my list if I was feeling in a different mood, like F1, which is such an entertaining movie, and I couldn't care less about about cars or Formula One. And she's fun. She's the best thing in F1. She's brilliant. And again, she just turns up for like 10 minutes and delivers a beautiful character performance. And Paul Schneider is this motor mouthed sort of preacher, and it's just, I don't know, I love that kind of rural American storytelling, and it's just a phenomenal example of that, sort of centered around this beautiful interior quiet performance from Joel Edgerton. I found it incredibly moving, and
Yeah, it
just,
was.
yeah, and again it's got a lovely bit of narration from Will Patton.
Yeah, it would be a lovely companion piece to the life of Chuck, I think, because it's about humanity, it's about living, it's about love, life, and loss, and existence, and where did the time go? And yeah, that the Will Patton narration definitely reminded me of Life of Chuck of Nick Offerman's.
Yeah, and they're both ordinary men, aren't they? They're not
Yeah,
they're not
yeah,
Superman. They're not
yeah,
particularly heroic. I mean, yeah, I mean, Chuck's an accountant. He's a logger. And they're
yeah,
both very unassuming men who don't want a lot out of life. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. John Deal. I saw him and I was like, I know that's John Deal. I've not seen him for so long, but he's obviously like an old man now. The last, what was he in? The last Seduction. I've watched John Deal. He's been in a bunch of stuff.
I didn't know who he was. He was good
Yeah,
though.
I recognize his face. I'm trying to see.
Oh, and two of my favorite movies have the same actor. Did I write his name down? The actor who plays the Choctaw Indian monster
Mm,
hunter in Sinners, and he has, I think he has less than 5 minutes screen time, and you want a movie about him. You think, I want to know
yeah,
about him, and it's never
he's the guy
explained.
who's his mate in Train Dreams.
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying?
He's the
Okay,
guy that
great.
runs the convenience store.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
again, very, very sort of very normal guy. Nothing's really made of his sort of Native Americanness. He's a guy who's a Native American who's a friend, and again, he's a phenomenal character actor.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
And yeah, and it was just lovely to see him pop up in two of my favorite films.
And
And
Clifton Collins Jr. was also in. Had a lovely little, tiny little cameo, and he's just again another one of those actors who's always great. I thought the music was stunning in Train Dreams. I thought the mood of it was just. I watched. It was the first thing I watched on my new TV, and had the surround sound, and it sounded great, looked beautiful. Would have been nice to have seen it on the big screen, but again, it was one of those Netflix that's there for a second, and I tried to
I think
see
it
it.
was
I
there for
did
a
try
week,
and
a week in
yeah,
Nottingham, but I
yeah,
thought I really made an effort to go and see it. I think I'm
yeah,
gonna like this, and yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree, mate. Train Dreams was really a stunning, beautiful film.
Well, shall we quickly, just before we should we just
Yeah,
get the hate out of the way now? It's
go
it's
for it,
punching
mate.
up, punching up.
Yeah, yeah.
Film. I put a few movies down that kind of annoyed me and disappointed me, but there was only one movie that I was actively hating while I was
Brilliant.
watching it, sitting there, and it made me angry. And that has to
Mm.
be The Matrix for getting on, if that's the right word, for getting on this list, and that was Spike Lee's Higher to Lower, his remake of is it High and Low, the Kurosawa crime movie, which was an absolute pig's ear dog's mess of a
Wow.
remake. with at the heart and soul of it, one of the most conceited, arrogant movie star taking over a movie performances by a great actor. It's one of the worst performances by a great actor I've ever seen, and that was I can't even believe I said it, Denzel Washington absolutely destroys the movie. Because for those who haven't seen High and Low, the Kurosawa classic, starring, well, no, co-starring Tatsuya Nakadai, who's if you're watching this on YouTube, that's why I've got this weird image behind me of a man with his back to you, surrounded by dead people, because that's Tatsuya Nakadai in Sword of Doom. It's a little tribute to the fact that he passed this year. Yeah, it's essentially about a businessman who son is kidnapped and held to ransom at the point where he's on the verge of sinking all his money into this sort of business maneuver, and he's going to pay the money because it's his son, but then he finds out it's a case of mistaken identity, and they've kidnapped the son of his chauffeur, who's wearing like his own son's clothes, and then he's not so keen to sort of put up the money. So it's this like kind of horrible moral dilemma movie. And that sort of played out. But with Denzel Washington, I always think there's something that I don't like about Denzel Washington as a man, in that I always feel that he's like the self-appointed pastor of Hollywood and the dispenser of wisdom. And there's something a little bit kind of arrogant
Where's
about
the
it.
humility? Where's the
Yeah,
humility? He doesn't have any.
and what you get is and he always plays the character like every decision he makes is right, and and you're not invited to criticize it. And you've got this horrible performance, this obsequious performance from Jeffrey Wright as the chauffeur, who's constantly deferring to, Denzel Washington as if he's the fount of all wisdom. And they've got these really cringy moments where in this he's a music mogul, and there's this bits where he's engaging in. I mean, I'm a man in my 50s, so I'm not even going to I'm probably going to say the wrong words, but it's like he's engaging in like sort of youth speak and street talk that makes him look like an old man. There's bits on Strictly Come Dancing when Bruce Forsyth, when he was alive, used to do these jokes where he said things that young people would say. And the joke is he's Bruce Forsyth, but they still made me cringe. And it's like Denzel Washington is doing that, but straight faced and for real. And the climax of the movie is a fight between 70-year-old Denzel Washington and this kidnapper half his age. We're expected to believe that Denzel Washington, on the power of his pure Denzelness, would basically kick this guy's arse. And you just feel it's like this actor's ego penetrating this movie and just turning what should be this sort of study of moral hypocrisy, which the original is. Although I still think they let Toshiro Mifune off a little bit too much at the end of the movie. And also the climax of the movie is nothing to do with him. It's the detectives trying to find this guy, but Denzel has to do it. And it was horrible. It was horrible to watch. And it was just horrible to see this movie just absolutely ripped apart by the self-righteousness, in my opinion, of this big Hollywood legend who is a great actor. But I just, and I thought, well, Spike Lee's quite happy to go lock horns with, Samuel L. Jackson and Tarantino. Why isn't he directing Denzel Washington, telling him that actually that's not the movie we're trying to make, unless he was all in on it? So I hated that film, and that's why.
The moment that I heard it was being made was the moment that I said I'm not going to see that film.
Did you see Old Boy? Did you see his remake?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
because I haven't seen that. So to be fair to Spike Lee, I haven't seen it, but it's not.
Old Boy, it's meant to be terrible, mate. Like Charlie, he goes on about how terrible it is.
Is he a fan of Asian cinema, or do you think he's playing a secret long game where he actually really hates Asian cinema? And every time he gets a little bit of juice, you think, oh, what am I going to remake now? I'm going to trash that one. I'd kind of admire him if that was what he did. I just think that's a really funny thing to do, just to use your juice.
It's also petty, and it's also like not artistic.
I think he genuinely loves it, but he's like,
yeah. It's strange to me. I don't know that Spike Lee's made a really great film for a long time anyway, and he was one of the sort of greats in the 90s for sure. But yeah, no, I wasn't going to see that. High and Lows on my,
So that's my hate.
Good.
Hate valve.
Yeah. I don't I have like I'm not even going to go into it and not really talk about it too much, but like Nosferatu, Wolfman, The Brutalist, like these are films that The Monkey, films that I was kind of looking forward to that I just was so vanilla about. I just thought, what's the point? Bring Her Back was another one, films that I was looking forward to that just
Yeah.
disappointed ultimately. I watched Sorcerer by William Friedkin for the first time and thought it was absolutely fantastic. Like just a magnificent five-star film that I was so pleased that I wasn't disappointed in any way. And Wages of Fear is one of my films. Like I've seen it loads of times. I've seen it recently as well. And so seeing what he then did with the original
Wages of Fear.
story, yeah, and then adapted it like in Sorcery. You get to see them before they go to the island, and that, which I thought was a really nice touch. It gave you more insight into the characters of who they were, and yeah, brilliant. Sorcerer, brilliant. That was my top film of the year, I reckon, as far as non-cinema and older films.
Yeah, I had a pretty good year with of all the films I saw in revival. I loved all of them, but the two I'm going to highlight um, are The Curse of Frankenstein, the original Hammer movie,
Mm.
which I think they did a big. It was in conjunction with a big sort of Blu-ray and sort of 4K special edition, and so it got a limited cinema release. It got one night only cinema release, and it was lovely just to see. It was a small screen, but it was a packed screen full of young people watching this Hammer film unironically and really enjoying it. And it's just sort of lurid, beautiful splashes of green, and you know, and sort of classy in that way that sort of Hammer like belies its budget and presents something that is simultaneously classy and lurid at the same time. And a lot of that's to do with their wonderfully written films. And Peter Cushing is a great actor who appeared in predominantly low budget films apart from Star Wars. And he's just an outstanding, Baron Frankenstein. So I really enjoyed that. A couple of films I enjoyed. I'm just going to throw them just because I saw them with my dad. I've just started kind of going to see old
Mm.
films with my dad now. So Jaws was great. I mean, that's the third time I've seen Jaws at the cinema, and
That's on my list
it's
as
just
well.
lovely seeing it with my dad. And we saw this week The Wild Geese, which is an old family favorite. Richard Burton and Richard Harris. His mercenaries in Africa, and Roger Moore with a constant cigar on the go, and it was great. It was really good fun. But no, my delight of the year, and I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 over Halloween, and the people. They're called the Loft Cinema. Just give them a shout out. Not that they'll ever hear this, but and they do these at the Savoy Cinema in Nottingham once a month. They'll do normally to packed houses and the biggest screen, just sort of presentations of cult, sort of normally sort of 80s, kind of early 90s, sort of horror and sci-fi genre movies. And they showed Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and made the point actually they're doing it in conjunction with another group, who actually run a VHS store, one of the last VHS stores
Wow.
in Ilkeston, and I can't remember the name of the organization, but they actually said that because this film was never theatrically screened not in England because it was banned, and they just came out on VHS in various cut forms, because this might be one of the first times it's ever been theatrically screened.
Wow.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is a nasty, messy delight. And again, it sort of stands in relation to the original in the way that Evil Dead 2 stands in relation to Evil Dead 1, in that it's played for laughs. The comedy is jet black. Toby Hooper is one of a genius of kind of just nasty, rusty production design. When you descend into their lair underneath this Texan theme park, it's just this horrible. You feel like you catch a disease if you scratched your arm on anything in this like junkyardy sort of world, and
Mm.
it's got a great Dennis Hopper performance in it. Caroline Williams is one of the sort of great scream queens of 80s cinema, and it's just I loved it. It was just such a entertaining nasty, grisly, and I love the fact I don't get tired of telling people this. I love the fact that it's written by the same guy who co-wrote Paris, Texas. So you got these two movies
Mm.
with Texas in the title that couldn't be more different. And he wrote it apparently, a guy called LM Kit Carson, who I'm getting quite obsessed with. And he wrote it as a deliberate act of self-sabotage because his agent told him after winning a prize at Cannes, Paris, Texas will elevate you to a new world of screenwriting opportunities. And he said, I looked at that world. I didn't like the look of it. So I wrote Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So like none of these people would ever employ me again. But he does a sterling job. It's a beautifully written film, you know.
Mm. I've never
And
seen that. I will definitely have a look
no,
at that.
it's terrific. It's really good fun. And it's kind of Toby Hooper's really last great hurrah before he just sort of kind of unraveled really. And just although I do like the
Mm.
Mangler. I've got a lot of love for the Mangler. I
The
just genuinely
manga.
do. Watch it again. It's not as bad as people think it
I
is.
don't think I've ever seen it, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'll watch it. It's got an appalling reputation, but I love it. I think it's great. So yeah,
They
so that yeah.
released they released on that they released Chain Reactions. It was at the film festival this year. It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre documentary.
Mm.
I didn't see it, unfortunately, but that's on my list of films to watch, and that in conjunction with rewatching
This
the
provides a nice
original.
segue if we still got time to just have a few
Yeah,
words about
yeah, yeah,
disappointment of the
yeah,
year, because
yeah.
Guillermo del Toro is one of the talking heads on Chain Reactions, and unfortunately, I have to say his Frankenstein was my biggest disappointment of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, I saw it in the cinema screen, and I just thought it was on the positive side. I thought it was again production design. It was just it looked astonishing.
Like Nosferatu, similar to that
Like
for me, you know,
Nosferatu.
like it
Yeah,
looked beautiful, but lacked so many elements that
yeah. Are you talking about
made it.
Nosferatu or
I'm
Frankenstein
talking
or?
about both of them, mate. I think both
Yeah.
of
Oh,
them are the
I didn't realize
same.
you'd seen it. Have you seen? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I went to see it at the cinema, and
yeah. Me too.
again was just it was so I was so lukewarm about it. It was not
It
I
was
wasn't that
boring.
bothered. Yeah, it was boring. Mia
I
Goth
think the
was
way it was
great,
structured,
and
again,
Jacob
it's
Elordi
another
were
film
great.
told in chapters, and
Mm,
but in that instance, it kills the tension of the story. I think Oscar Isaac is just barely directed. I think he's so over the top in it.
yeah, yeah.
And I think the problem is like, and it was a sort of similar problem with Pinocchio that we talked about in our podcast, in that he has a theme that he imposes on the narrative. And in Pinocchio, it's about fascism and bad fathers, and with this, it's about fathers and sons, and it's about reconciliation, and it kills the horror. And he lets the
Mm,
monster off. The monster is so much nastier in the source novel, but never loses your sympathy because he's sinned against. But he does some unspeakable things in it, which they don't allow him to do in this.
yeah.
And he kills lots of people, but he's always provoked. They always kind of have it
Mm,
coming, or they're wolves and literal
mm,
wolves and
mm.
and
CGI wolves.
and I thought it was the biggest waste of a Mia Goth I've ever seen. And she's so reasonable and quiet and contained. And in the novel, she's the person that's going to be the bride, you know. And I thought, why didn't he go there? Why didn't he go there with the sort of like the making of the bride and
Yeah.
especially when you've got Mia Goth, she's to the manor born, and you've got
Mm,
Mia Goth, and you just don't use her.
yeah.
And the one thing I did, I thought Jacob Elordi. What do you think? I liked him. I thought he
Yeah,
was
I thought
very
it was
good.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Jacob
yeah,
Elordi and Mia Goth were the reasons why the only sort of redeeming factors to it.
yeah,
The as far as like her not being used, I mean, that was to be blamed by the script, which I thought was
yeah.
maybe
No, it's
just a
not her
bit
fault.
shit.
Yeah.
And but when she was on screen, I was transfixed by her. I thought she's brilliant. She
Although I
has a
preferred her because she plays a
stillness.
dual role as the mother and the love interest, doesn't she? She's his mother at the beginning. Did you know that she plays his
No.
mother? Yeah,
Oh, I missed that.
yeah. I think she's better
Well,
as a mother. She's more kind of ethereal, more kind of well, yeah. She's it's something a little bit stranger and more. She's obviously sort of has the touch of death about her as the mother as well. She's kind of like this sort of arbiter of death. But yeah, I didn't just disappointed. Did you like the sequence in the College of Surgeons where he kind of demonstrates
yeah,
reanimation for
that
the
was fun. Yeah.
yeah. I think the whole film should have been like that. It should have had that tone. and that sort of mischief and nastiness. And it should have been a horror movie. He went out of his way to say, oh, I've not made a horror movie. There's elements of horror. I've made a movie about fathers and sons. He thought, yeah, absolutely right. But it was just such a misstep, I thought, and just negated any real horror. And also, I felt the ending was unearned. You know, the ending just, there's almost like this switch of attitudes that gives you the kind of ending Del Toro wants, but doesn't make any sense from the monster's point of view up to that point, considering what he's been wanting to do to Frankenstein, or yeah, or through the film.
I agree, mate. It was just a wet squib of a film that
But a very
looked
long wet
beautiful,
squib.
but yeah, long and beautifully looks beautiful, but yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
really give me what I needed.
yeah.
Is that a wrap up then?
Well, no, just no, what are you looking forward to next year?
You tell me, and I'll tell you if I'm looking forward to it or not.
Okay, I am looking forward to the Odyssey, the big Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan Odyssey.
I'm
No,
not.
you don't even have to say because it's Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan and it's Matt
yeah,
Damon as
yeah,
Odyssey.
yeah.
I think we should. I think you should go and see it anyway, and then we can do an episode on it.
Possibly, yeah.
We can
I'll be
sort of
up for
punch
that.
up. We've not punched up at a movie that's actually out in the cinema. Although by the time we
Yeah,
record things, you know, they've kind of been on telly, haven't they? You know, like when we get around
yeah,
to it.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to The Bride. You know, the other Frankenstein movie, the Maggie Gyllenhaal directed, almost like the monster and his bride, like Bonnie and Clyde. I think it's set in the 1930s, and it's Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley as the monster on the bride on a crime spree, and that looks like far more interesting than, you know, sort of the heritage horror of you know, my beloved Guillermo del Toro. There's a French version of The Incredible Shrinking Man with Jean Dujardin, you know, that the guy from The
Don
Artist.
Dujardin. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That looks really
John
good.
of the Garden.
John of the Garden. So yeah, so they've remade or, you know, adapted. It looks more like they've adapted the original Matheson novel rather than remade the great black and white sort of sci-fi movie, The Incredible Shrinking Man. So I want to see that in French. I've got two more. Oh no, three more. Do you mind if I just rattle through them?
Go for it, mate. Go for it.
Saipan, which is a movie with Steve Coogan about the fallout between Roy Keane, hard man footballer Roy Keane, and their Irish manager, which I remember from the news. I don't care about football, where he publicly called him the C word, and it got reported around the world. The big bust up between those two in the World Cup, whichever World Cup was set in Japan. And there's a personal investment in this from as a Nottinghamian, and that it's written by Paul Fraser, who was the co-writer of a lot of the Shane Meadows movies. He tends to be kind of forgotten and overshadowed and sort of almost written out of the Shane Meadows story. And I remember visiting a Shane Meadows set to do a little bit of an interview with Shane Meadows, and Paul Fraser was just wandering around looking really miserable, no one talking to him. And I'm really pleased that he's got this solo credit that's already getting really good reviews. I think it's got some really good, I think it got really, really good feedback reviews in the London Film Festival, and I think in the Toronto Film Festival. And I'm looking forward to it coming out. And I don't care about football, but I really want to see these two characters go
Good
at it.
stories are good stories,
Yeah,
mate.
good story is a
Isn't it?
good story. Weirdly
Mm.
enough, considering how much I hated Saltburn, I'm really looking forward to
Yeah. No. Wuthering Heights.
Wuthering Heights. Yeah,
No.
genuinely, I am.
Yeah.
I love the fact that
Yeah.
it's annoyed so many people
Yeah.
who are forgetting that the original novel, which I read that, I finished reading it like a few weeks ago, and it's
Yeah.
brilliant. Obviously,
I hated it. I hated the novel.
You hated the novel.
I read it maybe last year for the first time
Yeah,
ever. I hated it because I hated the characters. That I hated everything about it. I just wasn't.
they
It's
are
written
really hateful
beautifully.
characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like Romeo and Juliet is held up as like this incredible love story between two like 13-year-old kids, or you're 13 and a 15-year-old, where five people die or
Well, no,
whatever.
I
Same
mean, you
thing.
know, like Heathcliff, you know, Heathcliff's like about 50 when the novel ends and things, and he's like, you know,
Yeah,
it's like a lifelong obsession that sort of trickles down generationally. But it's like I really liked it. I found it challenging. I found the characters just like perversely cruel, but I still felt the tragedy of what they could have been, and their inability to kind of defeat their own natures. I know, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was brilliant, and I'm actually really looking forward to the film. I think it looks really bold stylistically. I think her relationship with like Bronte's novel might be akin to sort of Ken Russell's relationship with the various literary texts he approached, like D.H. Lawrence and, well, D.H. Lawrence mainly, in that he took a very avant-garde approach to it, but sort of captured the spirit of something of, well, I've not read any Lawrence, so I'm assuming captured the spirit of Lawrence because people seem to like them. And I think everyone's sort of getting their knickers in a twist about how the the bold swings it takes, the fact that it's quite salacious and it's quite forgetting the fact that when the novel came out originally, absolutely scandalized people. So she's just finding a modern language to replicate that sense of shock and offense. I like Margot Robbie's choices as a producer. I think she picked some quite bold subjects or risky or unusual things to sort of put a name to. And again, Elordi's on a roll, so I just want to see what he does as Heathcliff. I think it'd be very
Yeah,
good.
I was just so pissed off with Saltburn. I just
Yeah.
thought, it was exploitative and salacious for the sake of being that. I don't think it added to the story. And then when I heard about Great Expectations, not Great Expectations, Wuthering Heights,
Mothering.
I thought that, yeah, it's going to be the same shit, and you're going to ride that wave, and that's fine, and you're going to have your little, but it's not for me. It just doesn't seem to
It
me.
may well be, but it's got my
Mm.
attention, and I want to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And I may hate it. We may be having this conversation in a year's time, and I might be raging about it. But and finally, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is Ready or Not, Here I Come. Basically,
oh
Ready or
yeah,
Not
yeah.
2.
Samara
Because
Weaving.
yeah, well, Samara Weaving and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Catherine Newton, who's my favorite new sort of bonkers actress under 30, and David Cronenberg. He's in it. And
Nice.
I really like. I can never remember their actual names, but they operate as a directing duo called Radio Silence, and I just think they make the best popcorn. And I'm not using this in a pejorative sense. They make the best popcorn horror movies, and their films are so entertaining. They're the first two of the recent Scream reboot, Ready or Not, which I really liked, and Abigail, which I loved. The sort of kidnapped vampire child.
Yeah, yeah. Abigail definitely felt like a Ready or Not, didn't it?
Yeah, and Catherine Newton, like, I think, stole the movie in that. And she's terrific. I like Lisa
Mm.
Frankenstein as well, and I want to watch more of her stuff. I think there's just something there's something slightly of Nicolas Cage in some of the choices she makes. She just makes some really kind of unusual choices, as just in the beats and just where she takes a character. And I think she's fascinating, and the fact that I think she's playing Samara Weaving's sister in it, and I think Kevin Durand's back in it as well, who I like.
Great.
I think he's
Yeah.
great. And I
He's
think
in.
they had a great. They were very much teamed together as like two characters in Abigail, and I thought
Yeah.
they were
Yeah,
terrific
they were
together.
great.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So there we go. I'm done. I'm
A
spent
couple
now.
of a couple of films that I'm looking forward to that I wasn't aware of, but I saw an advert for which is maybe even out already, is Nouvelle Vague, the new
Oh
wave
yeah.
Richard Linklater film. I just looked at it. I thought, oh, I'm in that, mate. That looks great. And Hamnet might be fun. I was considering reading the book beforehand because I think it'd probably be quite easy to read. Yeah, but apart from that, I think it is 2025 was an okay year for films. Like there were some crackers in there for sure. Not the best year for films, and pound for pound, I don't think
I thought it was
really.
pretty good. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I had my secret weapon of my Cineworld pay 16 quid and see as many films as you like taken away from me, because Cineworld collapsed in Nottingham at any rate. And so I've had to actually, what's the word, let pay to see things.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so I've been a bit more picky. Well, not, I was I've probably been less picky actually. I've probably gone more down the like genre and entertainment route. But I think having said
yeah,
that, looking at my list, I think it was a nice varied list. It wasn't all like
yeah,
horror movies. No westerns on there. They didn't release
yeah.
any this year. And so
The Dead
I
Don't
think
Hurt was the Dead Don't Hurt your film from
no, that was
last
last
year?
year. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
on that was on my list last year. So yeah, nothing, no westerns. Great western on TV, and American Primeval, but other than
yeah.
that,
That was really good.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Other than that, not a great deal to shout about in terms of the Western. But
Yeah,
I'm happy with this year. Felt it was a good
yeah.
year. I felt shortchanged. And we're probably, am I right in thinking it's going to be Argento, the next one? All things
We are.
Argento.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All
Yeah,
things Argento, but
yeah.
specifically, I suppose, starting at Deep Red.
Starting at Deep Red, because I did that was a good. I didn't really talk about that because we will talk about that. I saw
that's our next
absolutely
one.
yeah, I saw Deep Red on the big screen and I had a good time with it. So I'm advocating for. You'll probably be advocating. Well, you will be advocating against. We'll see, because you've watched a ton of Argento movies and you've kept your cards close to your chest.
Close,
and some Fulci movies as well. And you haven't kept your cards that close to your chest on those. But I won't reveal to our listener what you said. But yeah,
Giallo in general, basically.
yeah,
Giallo. Yes,
Gates
until
of
the next
Hell,
time.
storms of worms fired in actors' faces, misogynist directors with weird relationships with their starlet daughters.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
Be
we'll
fun.
have fun. I mean, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for listening this year. We'll get more out. And
thanks to our we had a guest this year as well.
We did, yes. Matthew Chernoff. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. Listen to the Goonies episode. Three of us, two of us on our best behavior because we've got like a
guest,
proper podcaster in the room.
Yeah, that was great. Well, I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next year. See you in 2026, the actual future.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye for me.
Mission has been completed.
Truly.